G'day, I'm Jet Worsling. Fishing is honestly one of the best ways to get outdoors, hang out with mates or family, and just have a good time. There are so many different ways to catch fish, but lure fishing is one of my absolute favourites. Lure fishing is such an active way to fish, and when a fish eats your lure, it really gets the heart pumping. When you think about it, a lure is just an imitation of what the fish are eating. It's designed to look like something the fish would naturally chase. Lures can pretty much be split into two main groups, soft lures and hard lures. We covered soft plastics in the previous series, so now we're going to look at hard body lures, or hard bodies as most people call them. Hard body lures can be made from metal, plastic, timber, or even a mix of all three, and they come in a whole range of shapes, sizes, colours and styles, as you can see, and this is only a few of them. Some are tiny and imitate insects, while others are designed to look like full-size bait fish. If you're just starting out with hard bodies, it's usually best to keep things simple and start with your smaller lures. These imitate the kinds of food a lot of common species already feed on. Fish like flathead, which are one of my absolute favourites, brim, tailor, bass, trout, and even estuary perch, which is what you find right here at my local. Most of the time, that means using a lure between 4 and 10 centimetres long that looks like a small fish, prawn, yabby, squid, or really anything else those fish naturally eat. Once you get past the basics of size and shape, the options are genuinely endless. You can get floating lures, sinking lures, surface lures, diving lures. Honestly, there's so much choice, it can actually get pretty confusing. My favourite style of fishing is hands down using floating hard bodies to chase fish of all sizes off the surface. Whether it's 60 kilo plus yellowfin tuna on massive wooden stick baits or big Australian bass on hard plastic cicadas, I seriously think it's the pinnacle of fishing and one of the main reasons I absolutely love hard body lures. One thing you'll probably notice compared to soft plastics is that hard body lures usually cost a bit more, so don't feel like you need to buy heaps straight away. Start with a few cheaper and more versatile options like metal spoons, spinners and baitfish profile metals. As you fish more, you'll work out what styles you actually use and what's worth adding to your collection later on. Generally, most hard lures already come rigged with hooks, and a lot of them use what are called treble hooks, hooks with 3 points. They're super effective at hooking fish, but they're also really effective at hooking landing nets, clothes, car seats, pets, and even your mates. So, definitely be careful with trebles and do not leave any lures lying around where people or animals could step or sit on them. Keep them safely stored in a tackle tray or box when you're not using them. When you're choosing hard body lures, think about what your target fish are actually feeding on. Try to match the lure to those food sources in terms of size, shape, and even colour. And don't be afraid to ask for advice in your local tackle shop either. The staff usually know exactly what's working in your area and can point you in the right direction. Once you've picked a lure, you can tie it straight onto your leader using a good quality knot like the uni or half blood knot we learnt earlier in the series. You can also use a small clip or snap, which makes it way easier to swap between lures without retying every time. Before you cast, drop the lure into the water next to you and give it a quick swim. Watch how it moves and pay attention to the speed that makes it look most realistic. Some lures work best really slow, while others actually need a bit more speed to properly come alive in the water. Once you're happy with how it looks, it's time to cast into an area where fish might be feeding. As soon as the lure lands, engage your reel and close that bail arm. If you're using a sinking lure, like a spoon, spinner, or metal, you might want to actually let it sink for a few seconds before you start your retrieve. But remember, if the bottom is rocky, weedy, full of timber, or even got any other structure in it, those treble hooks can snag pretty easily and you might even lose your lure. If you're using a floating or diving hard body, you can usually start retrieving straight away. Try to retrieve it at the speed that made it look best earlier when you swam it at your feet, but I'd recommend you don't just wind it exactly the same speed the whole time. I'd mix things up a bit. A few twitches, a few big pauses, speed it up, slow it down, give it another pause. These little changes can make the lure look more natural and often trigger a strike. Can make the lure look like it's wounded and actually trying to flee from the fish. So think of it like putting on a puppet show for that fish. Your job is to make the lure look as alive and convincing as possible. The more realistic it looks, the more likely a fish is to eat it. When a fish grabs your hard body lure, you'll usually feel a solid tick or sudden weight on the line. When that happens, lift the rod tip and keep winding until the rod loads up properly. A lot of the time, the fish actually hooks itself because of those trebles, but you still need to stay connected and keep tension on the line so the hooks don't shake loose. And remember, everything we learned earlier about fighting fish and landing fish properly. Like all of your gear, you have to look after your hard body lures. So when you finish fishing, give them a quick rinse in fresh water and dry them off before putting them away. If you don't, the hooks and metal fittings can rust pretty quickly. And of course, always take your rubbish and lure packaging home with you. Never leave litter around the water. Fishing with hard body lures is seriously addictive, and before long, you might find yourself building up a pretty decent collection. Some anglers end up with hundreds of lures, but whether you own 2 lures or 200, remember this. A lure is basically just a lie told by a fisherman to a fish. The more convincing you make that lie, the more likely the fish is to believe it. So work on your lure fishing skills and become a good puppet master. Now you've got a solid idea of how to start catching fish on hard body lures. But fair warning, it gets addictive very quickly. Once you start getting bites and landing fish on lures, you'll want to keep doing it again and again. And honestly, that's not a bad thing. Fishing is fun, healthy, exciting, and one of the best excuses there is to get outdoors and enjoy Australia.